My name is Maggie and I love food trucks. Okay, so assuming that you're all here, that you also love food trucks as much as I do, you're here to learn and kind of hopefully I can answer some key questions that you have about food trucks. I'm going to be talking about lots of different topics. So hopefully it covers the majority of any key areas that you want to zone in particular. I'll kick off by sharing one of my favorite things about food trucks, especially in Auckland. I really love the diversity of the food trucks here, and I've seen it elsewhere around New Zealand and good old Instagram and the amazing food trucks that operate maybe in the States as well. The appearances and the individuality of food trucks and how they really let personality shine through their business, the whole experience, and someone seeing their passion just it's incredible. Like it's a really exciting and personal business, I think. And I love to support food trucks working alongside them in Auckland. Um, in Auckland specifically, we're really spoiled with choice. We've got Italian, French, Turkish, South American, British, Southeast Asian, Pacifica, America, Indian, and so much more. And it's a great kind of melting pots of culture here for all of you that know Auckland like I do. For the next hour or so, we're going to spend some time talking about my background, how I'm lucky to work with food trucks every day, and kind of the top 10 things that I think are really important that you need to consider when starting out. It all began with an idea. I think everyone has, when they want to start their own business, it's kind of always kind of under kind of on your radar when you're kind of working through your career, and there's a lot of trials and errors. And I spent a lot of time working in the hospitality sector growing up, and I just love to be around people. I love to kind of create moments that are memorable, and it all kind of led me to where I am today. So importantly, I wanted to create a lifestyle that worked around me, and food trucks was something that I had seen operating in Auckland around 2015. I was actually working in a corporate job in the city, whole 9 to 5 thing, and I was on mat leave, and actually gave me the chance to really think about what I wanted to do. And at the time I was training for a run, running around my local park and seeing Mr. Whippy, as we all do, kind of parking up and serving his ice cream goodness, which we've all had. And at the time, obviously, with just having a baby, I was drinking a lot of smoothies, and I was really enjoying kind of the different kind of flavors my husband and I were coming up with, and I thought they were really yummy. So I just had one of those light bulb moments, and I thought, what if I could do what Mr. Whippy does, but a little bit healthier, or a lot more healthier, and kind of roam around and go to events, park up at the beach, and kind of share what I love. Like my passion was smoothies at the time. Like, I'll be honest, I can't cook very well. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to make anything gourmet as such, but I felt like I could make a really gourmet, mean tasting smoothie. Long story short, about 6 months later, I was on the road. I had bought a food truck, and I learned lots of lessons, good and bad, in that first 6 to 12 months, and was connected with lots of inspiring and hardworking people who were also doing the same thing I was. There wasn't many food trucks around then, and a lot of them were kind of cheap and cheerful kind of vibe. And we're really trying to kind of come together to kind of create a new standard for food trucks in Auckland. And that's kind of where the Food Truck Collective was born. I was introduced to a mutual friend, Tim from Double Dutch Fries, and we both had that passion to really kind of grow the food truck scene in Auckland. And 6 years later, we have created something really special that I think is quite unique to Auckland. And there's not many other kind of organizations like it around the world. But the Food Truck Collective is primarily dedicated to support all these entrepreneurs and hardworking people that are wanting to pursue their dream. Okay. We organize food truck events all around Auckland to make sure that they have platforms to work. We have a functionality on our website to help organizers, other like event organizers, to be connected to food trucks. So we constantly know what we need to do to support these food trucks and create a lifestyle and money, obviously, that can fulfill that. So alongside organizing the events, we've also created like a network and a community, because running your own business can be quite isolating at times. Even though running a food truck is lots of fun, again, you're at sociable events, but you're individually kind of doing your own thing. You don't really spend much time kind of socializing. So we've brought all these guys together, and we have a private Facebook group where we kind of someone's having a rough time, like I can't find any staff, can someone help me? Or has anyone got advice on this? Or my generator's broken? Or can someone give me some insight on an event which has approached me, like a festival? Do you think it's worthwhile? So it's all about connecting each other, even if you're outside of Auckland. It's like you need to, if you wanted to get into the space, you need to make friends in the space and just connect with them and be honest and tell them what your plans are, and they might really be able to help you. So like I said, it can be pretty overwhelming to start a business, but with my experience of obviously running my own food truck and working with all of these amazing food trucks, I think I've got a thing or two to share that I really want to help others on the journey, because it can be overwhelming. You can be like, oh yeah, I'll get round to it, I'll get round to it. But it's just those tiny stepping stones you need to make to kind of just get that momentum going. And this is what I want to talk to you about today. So thanks again for taking the time. And I really hope you feel a little bit more confident and kind of knowledgeable about how to get started after this session. Okay, let's kick off with number one, brainstorming. Okay, and you've obviously thought about the idea of a food truck before today because you're here right now. So you've got the idea, but why? Why do you want to do this? Is it the lifestyle? Is it you want to share your love for food? Is this like you've got this amazing talent for creating specialty dishes? It brings you joy. You're passionate about it. Like really, what's your why? And you really need to think about why you want to do this, because there's going to be lots of moments that's going to be tricky, and I think if you've got passion for something, you can really pursue it and kind of share it with the world. And it's really amazing. Your connection, obviously, to food as well, whether it being an emotional connection, whether you learned to cook from a family member or it's from a different country and you're wanting to share the kind of unique tastes with people around the world or around your area. So there's lots of ideas you need to narrow down. As I mentioned before, I was really passionate about smoothies. And so I knew that I wanted to educate people on how delicious smoothies could be. So that was my passion for it, because I felt like smoothies had this stigma against them being green and yucky and not very tasty. And you'd only drink them because you feel like you need to feel healthier. But I wanted to make smoothies that kids and adults both liked, with delicious flavors, but had that nutritional value as well. So that was kind of my background. And so once you have that, it makes everything a lot easier. So once you can kind of narrow it down to a cuisine, like what kind of dishes could you visualize on your menu? What kind of flavors and looks and ideas? It's all about kind of funneling this idea now more narrow, so we can kind of define it a little bit more. What's important as well with this, obviously, you need to make it unique to you as well. We'll go into a little bit more detail about that later, but you need to have that unique selling point that's going to really make you stand out, because there are going to be lots of food trucks that you may be competing against, and you want to be inspired by what they're doing, but you don't want to be stealing or any ideas, because like I said in a few slides before, it's a real opportunity to let your personality shine through running a food truck. One thing you can do as an exercise is you could probably picture yourself at an event and you see all the food trucks there. Can you visualize your food truck and what will really make it stand out? Like, what would you call it? What would be something that's appropriate to the food you're offering? This whole brainstorming exercise is really important to start off with, because you might have loads of ideas. Please write them all down, which we'll go on to, but it's really important to really just think about all aspects of your idea. Lots of questions that I frequently get asked is like, what is the advantages of opening a food truck versus a restaurant? And there's definitely pros and cons to both. But what is the beauty of the food truck, which really attracted me to it, is that you can make it work around you. You can work as hard or as little as you really want, because you're not committed to being open Monday to Saturday, like 1 till 10 p.m. every single day, and having the same customers kind of frequently kind of come to your establishment. Like with a food truck, you can go to your customers, you can meet so many new customers and kind of build up your brand awareness at different areas of the city. And is a really good organic way to build that loyalty and following versus kind of opening a restaurant in a fixed site where you're waiting for people to come to you. Another pro with opening a food truck is obviously it's obviously still expensive startup costs, but it's a lot cheaper than opening a restaurant and fitting it out like that. So again, lots of pros and cons, which we can go into. But the best thing you can do is just start. Just start by brainstorming. And you're already making a start today by being involved in this call. So that's number one. And once you have all these ideas, it's quite related to your brainstorming, you kind of need to write a business plan. Now, this is your brainstorming session narrowed down into more kind of bite-sizable chunks, okay? So putting your ideas on paper is really important. Again, like I said, so you don't forget them, because there might be something you think of that you might not do initially, but you can implement later along the line, if that makes sense. A business plan sounds quite formal, but it's just the term, but you can make it as simple as you want. It's like it's yours at the end of the day. It simply prompts you to think about all the key areas of the business that you'll need to like give some really good thought to. Like, so this includes marketing, like your operations, doing some research on your competitors, finding events, what strengths and weaknesses are your business going to have? Like, are there any threats to your business? Like, COVID has been a huge threat to businesses, all businesses, over the last couple of years, and it's really impacted that. So you need to have like a plan of action to, for instance, if COVID came back again, which we really hope it doesn't, how would that impact your events? You need to have some plan Bs, plan Cs, Ds, in the back of your mind, okay? In terms of business plan, Zero has some really good options. There's a simple one and there's a more complex option, and they're just free downloads on the website. Just get familiar with this online accountancy tools. Like, starting up, you can obviously recruit an accountant, but if you can be familiar with how Zero works, a lot of small businesses start off like that. And it just makes everything a lot easier when it's all online, which is really cool. So remember, with the plan though, like, nobody's going to come and check your business plan and say, hey, that's wrong, that's not right. Like, nobody's going to come and pick it apart. It's up to you to write it as how you vision your business. And it really gives you the opportunity to kind of look at your financial plans and see if it's whether a successful business or not, depending on how hard you're planning to work and how many events you're planning to do. Are you going to make enough income to keep it going? So that's what this plan is all about. Like, I unfortunately didn't write a business plan when I started my food truck. I totally winged it. But in hindsight, I really wish I'd done some more planning. But hopefully with my help and insight, I can help you make it work and be a bit more knowledgeable about what you need to include in the plan. If that makes sense. Wonderful. We'll go on to this next page now, which is number 3, which is here. Okay, so once you've written your plan, you really need to tell people what you're doing, because the more you share, the more you might learn and be supported by your loved ones and friends and connections that you have in your current workplace. Like, you don't know, someone might know somebody who has a great deal on electrical equipment, or someone you know might have had a food truck who is selling theirs. Or it's just really important to kind of ask around and kind of tell people, and importantly, they can help you be more accountable of this dream that you want to pursue. They can keep encouraging you and supporting you on this journey. So it's really important to tell people kind of what you're planning to do. This is kind of food. And one thing you can do when you go to different events and markets is actually approach food trucks there already. Obviously not at their peak time when they're trading, but like either right at the beginning or close to the end. And just, again, tell them what your plans are. This is the kind of food truck I'm thinking. This is hoping to get into local events. Have you got any golden nuggets that you can share with me to make my journey or my launch a little bit easier? Because they really might have some kind of key things that you hadn't considered, and you can take them on board, because it might help you avoid a costly mistake. Okay, so shout from the rooftops. Okay, get your cheerleaders behind you to make sure you keep going. Okay, number 4. This is a bit of a biggie, because you're going to be spending lots of time researching like lots of elements from the business. And so it kind of relates back to your business plan, because this kind of research you need to incorporate in your business plan as well. Okay. So going back to events, you really need to check out what's happening in your local area, kind of what events are happening, okay, and see what the street food scene is like around you. When you go to events, you need to almost take a little diary and a notepad, because you won't retain everything in your mind. But how often are these events? Like, who runs them? How easy is it to join? Is there a wait list? A lot of events will have a wait list, or might have like an issue allowing you to trade at an event because there's already a similar vendor that's trading at that event. From my perspective, in the Food Truck Collective, we don't like to double up with vendors. Like, we don't like to have two burger trucks or two crepe vendors. Like, it's not fair. Like, I remember starting out again with my smoothies, I would be placed next to kind of real cheap and cheerful smoothies that were kind of done with kind of flavoring and ice and everything, which is amazing. But you can't put that beside somebody who's trying to sell $9-10 smoothies, because it's quite like, it's hard, because you won't be able to kind of reach your maximum sales as such if you have something too similar to you. So you really need to look and see what food trucks are attending what events, and whether there's an opportunity for you to join. Okay. Importantly as well, don't be deceived by that one visit. Okay. Every day is different. Like, at events, there's so many elements that can impact the attendance, the whole vibe and energy of an event. Like, we're struggling at the minute with the collective because it's been a really wet start to spring, and so people haven't been feeling like going out. Like, the rain has been on and off, and personally, if it was raining, I would definitely stay at home and kind of just bunker in and not necessarily go out. So there's lots of elements, and weather is one of the primary influences on an event, and it can have a significant impact on sales and attendance. So that's one thing you really need to bear in mind when forecasting. Again, forecasting is just an approximate, so just keep that in mind. The next thing you need to probably research is where to buy a food truck. Okay. There's lots of online Facebook community pages tailored for, obviously, food truck owners. There's one in New Zealand where food trucks who have been trading and they've kind of had enough, or they're wanting to sell on their food truck. It's a great space to look for there. And like Trade Me and Facebook Marketplace is an option, but I don't know how reliable it is. So my recommendation would be definitely to buy local. I bought my food truck from China. I thought I was saving money by going overseas and cutting out the middleman, buying a brand spanking new food truck. But in the short term, I actually ended up spending probably more than I'd anticipated, more than my budget, because it costs a lot more to import it, which I didn't factor in. When it came, I had to get it all electrically fitted, because Chinese electrical wasn't compliant here in New Zealand. It was supposed to be white, and it had specks of green paint like all over it. So buying and finding a food truck that's in New Zealand that you can go and see it in person before like paying for it is definitely really important. Like, having that point of contact locally versus someone like overseas in China, they just stopped answering my emails. Like, what can I do? So buy local if you can. And secondhand is still great. Like, you can definitely still revamp things and use some kind of DIY skills to kind of give it a new kind of look and feel. And food truck wrapping is something that you can do. If it's one color, you're not stuck to that color. So you've got to kind of think outside the box when you're shopping. Okay. So that's one thing to research. Next thing that you need to really research is that's going to affect your menu as well. Like, with your brainstorming, you'll obviously shortlist different menu items, but you really got to think of the cost of goods. And the cost of goods are obviously increasing at the minute in New Zealand and all around the world. So that may impact on how you source your ingredients. So kind of really doing your homework. Gilmore's is kind of a New Zealand place to obviously buy wholesale. But sometimes like Pack and Save does really good deals on food. I used to buy my almond milk from Pack and Save. Costco is just opened in Auckland. I still haven't been, but people are claiming to get to good deals there and sometimes not so good deals. So you really just need to shop around and shortlist your supplies. Because importantly as well, not just sorry on food, but your packaging um, needs to really, because that may impact the way you present your food as well, because it's not just about making amazing quality food, it's how you are presenting it. And obviously there's a lot of generic kind of mass made packaging, so you need to really factor that in when planning your menu, how you're going to present your food and what kind of packaging. You can reach out to like innocent packaging, for example, and ask for a few samples of their goods, so you can kind of test the whole kind of look and feel of your food once you've kind of finalized your menu. One other thing to talk on packaging, which I know we're going to discuss a little bit later on, but one of the important things a lot of event companies in Auckland, and I imagine this is around New Zealand, is that vendors must use compostable packaging. And there's a lot of packaging companies that are probably still not as compostable as they should be, but it's really important to research who your supplier is and how reliable and kind of good grade they are in terms of making sure that it is compostable or recyclable. Compostable is obviously much better because we're really passionate about preventing as much waste from our events as possible. Okay, next thing to research on the list is obviously licenses and compliances to be able to trade. Like people, like it's not unfortunate. It's unfortunate that it's not as easy as they make it out in the movies, where you can just rock up to the beach and start trading. There's a lot more kind of compliance and kind of hoops to jump through to be able to do such a thing. Mr. Whippy have got a really bespoke license which other food trucks can't get, which is called a roaming license, which is really frustrating because it'd be nice if everyone could do it. Because they're self-sufficient, they seem to be able to get that license. But for other food trucks, there's another individual license, which is really easy to register. Like Auckland Council, for example, the process is a hell of a lot easier than it is now compared to what it was in 2015 when I first started. Like they want you to succeed. They want you to start this business. So they're not going to come and kind of try and shut you down or anything. They're just anything going to kind of support and encourage you and make it as easy as they can to get verified, etc. So the popularity is increasing. So the standards of food truck is kind of really important. So if you've worked with food before, you probably have a basic understanding of food hygiene. If you haven't, you can do like a day course. I did like it wasn't even a day actually, it was like 3 or 4 hours just to learn the best practices of handling food, because you'll need to know this, and the council will want to see in your paperwork that you have that common sense of making sure that you serve like non-contaminated food, like you're not going to give anyone food poisoning, your kitchen is nice and clean. So it's just having that kind of common sense that they want to see, so they can be assured that you're going to be doing your best job, which you will. Okay, so that's pretty much all the research. There's more elements to that, but those are the key things that you really need to look into. Okay, let's move on to budgets. Okay, this again relates to your business plan, but you need to really start thinking about your cost of goods after you've conducted your research. Okay, so your cost of goods, how much it's going to cost you to create and make this menu item. Ideally, an example is I'm selling a burger and it's $10. Okay, it shouldn't really cost me more than $2.50 to make that item. Like 25% should be your cost of goods. Okay, because you need to make a good markup to ensure that you cover any other additional expenses on top of that. Okay, so, and obviously for you to make a profit on the food so your business can sustain. The pricing calculations, you need to think about event fees, cost of staff, and your operating costs like petrol. Again, all variable costs, but if you can knuckle down on finding out exactly how much that unit costs, you can kind of work backwards. By doing that, you can kind of calculate other forecasts in your business, so you can work out how many burgers as such you need to make at that event to make it a livable or a sustainable business. Like, have a magic number of units to sell, so it's worthwhile for you to leave your driveway with your food truck, because you're going to be attending lots of events that first year, and we'll go into this, but you need to really make sure that you keep note and it is working for you and you're making money on when you are trading. Okay. So once you've kind of calculated your forecasting, and obviously you might have a startup budget, which is really important in your planning, because you don't really want to get your heart set on this amazing food truck that you've seen online, like those amazing kind of Airstream ones in America that you see. They're really expensive, and they can be deceivingly kind of more expensive than maybe you anticipate. But you can start really small and grow from there. Like, I've seen loads of food trucks start from a gazebo setup. Like, it's a bit of a pain in the bum having to have a car big enough to load in your gazebo and your grill and everything that you might need, and packing in, packing out. But it gives you the chance to kind of, save on some money, but also test your products, test your food actually sells, talk to your customers before diving, into the deep end and investing in this really fancy looking track. What if nobody buys your food? So don't necessarily jump to the most expensive option. Like, really give it some thought with your budget, and then maybe save that money for a year's time down the road where you can upgrade it. Once you've assured yourself that people like your food, your customers are coming back, you can really do that next step and grow. Okay. Another frequently asked question, which I have no answer, like straightforward answer to, but how much money can I make? Sadly, there's no like kind of straight answer, like 100K, 200K. Like, there's so many variables that can impact your business because it's untraditional. There's so many, it's a seasonal kind of business, in the sense that obviously there's lots more events over the summer months, which is compact between like October to April, maybe, when the weather is supposed to be good. And then over winter, there's not much that's happening because, again, that weather is so variable. Okay. So you continue relying on different events being successful, different customers, great weather, the cost of store fees. So it depends on how hard you want to work. Like, do you want to be working like Friday, Saturday, Sunday for 6 months of the year? Like, you just need to make those calculations that will define how much you can make. So the harder you work, hopefully the more money you will make. But as the first year goes on and you try lots of different events, the second year will become easier because you'll have worked out which events have been profitable for you and which have not been so profitable for you. So you can work smarter and not harder, and hopefully make just as much money. So again, budgeting and doing that financial planning is really important. Okay, we'll go on to point 6 now, which is finalizing your menu. Okay, so we've talked about kind of defining different options in your menu, but keeping it simple is really important. Like, you want it delicious and effective and kind of easy to eat. Like, that's the most important thing, really. Making sure that you're not gonna that the customer doesn't require a knife and fork and doesn't have to sit down at a table. They want to be on the move. Like, traditionally, events, people roam about from different food, different activity, etc. So you want it kind of easy to eat, whether it's something that's in a cone or something that's kind of nice and flat that they can still not have to sit down and cut up as such. Okay, so thinking about that's really important. Don't have too many options. Like, I know it's nice to give your customers choice, but not too many choices, because from what I've seen from certain vendors that have too many different varieties of fillings or sauces or ingredients as such, you'll create a queue and your turnover of customers are going to be really slow, because it takes time for people to think about what they want. But if you keep it simple and straightforward, they'll be like, obviously they won't, but you'll be able to turn over those orders much quicker in your kitchen. Not just customers receiving their food, but your turnover of making them. Okay, you want everything to be as streamlined as possible. So you could still have overlapping different ingredients, so you don't have to buy loads of different ingredients, which obviously will save you money so you don't have any waste at the end. So bigger events as well, you want to keep it really easy for you, so it's not as stressful as it could be. When people attend events, though, usually they want to order really quickly and receive their food really quickly. Like I can see from past events, it's quite frustrating for some customers if they have a long line, they eventually order, and then they have to wait like quite a lengthy time to get their food. I don't think people mind queuing and then getting their food more or less straight away, because at least they know like that's it. Like I think there's frustration there if people have to wait once and then wait again. So my advice would be, even if you have to slow down your front of house taking orders, just try and make sure that you can consistently serve food on a regular basis. One thing actually that a lot of the food trucks are now using are these buzzers. I don't know if you've seen them at events where the food truck will actually hand over a buzzer. So you can actually go around and roam and have a look at different food or go buy yourself a drink, and then you beep, and obviously you can go collect your food there and then. So you're not wasting time at the event as well. So I think AliExpress and Alibaba also sell those buzzers as well online, which can be quite cheap and very effective. Importantly as well, when you're finalizing your menu, you don't want to cut corners. Okay, so ensuring that you're offering value for money for your customers, so they're satisfied satisfied with what they receive. A happy customer will come back again and again, so you want to retain that relationship with those loyal customers. Okay, so just put yourself in their shoes. What are your expectations when you go to an eatery? Like, you want good service, or great service, great food, and that will entice you to come back and support that food truck over and over again, because you know that they have that standard. If you have one customer has a bad experience, they're unlikely to come back to you again. So that customer relationship building is really important through your menu as well. Importantly, you can shop around as well. So local suppliers and local ingredients are sometimes cheaper than going to kind of these big stores, because they want to have your business as well. And that's something that you can use across your social media and promotional platforms, is that you buy your buns from Bob at the bakery down the road. Sorry, that was on the spot there. So yeah, you can really incorporate that, and that kind of helps with your whole brand image and values, which people do really like to see. They like to see the person behind the business. So kind of storytelling all those elements of your business is really cool as well. Talking of branding, something that's a really cool platform actually, and like there's so many more that have actually come onto the scene since I launched in 2015. Canva is this online tool that you can create logos, kind of brand colors. Like, I've created this presentation in Canva, and they've got loads of templates where you can create really simple but professional looking artwork, imagery. They've got like stock images. Obviously, don't pretend that stock images are your food. You want to obviously keep that personal, but they can really make you stand out from the other food trucks that might be just trying to DIY it. Because starting out, there's going to be lots of costs. And if you've got the budget to hire a graphic designer to make something bespoke for you, then that's incredible. But if you need to do it yourself, Canva is the tool to check. Like, they've got a free version where you can use lots of different templates for free, or you can upgrade to premium, but you don't necessarily need to do that. So that's a free tool. Pinterest is also a really inspirational platform to help you with your branding. Like, you can just literally pop in food trucks and you'll see so many different food trucks, like the whole look and colors, the styles, the trailers, the gazebos. And you can create your own little board to help you get inspired and share that, and kind of keep going back to when you're creating a whole brand look and feel. So you can take elements of different food trucks that from around the world to help you create something really special and unique to you. So Pinterest is amazing. You'll end up spending hours on it, like I do, unfortunately, but it's valuable to kind of see kind of benchmark of other food trucks and how they look and professional they are. So let your personality shine through your business with your whole look and feel of your brand, because it is you that you're selling as well, alongside your food. Okay, that personal approach is really important. Next step is number 8. You need to make it official. Okay. So you've got your business plan, you've got your brainstorming, you've got kind of branding ideas, you've hopefully got a name that relates to your business. Like mine was Raw Smoothies because I used raw ingredients that are really nutritious and yummy. So that kind of made sense to me. So yeah, think about something that's going to be relatable to your business, and then go contact company's office. It's a super easy process to do to register your business online, because once you've done this, you'll be able to set up all your official business accounts. Most food trucks operate initially as a sole trader. I was a sole trader with my food truck, and you'll be able to kind of open business bank accounts, and obviously your insurances for your business. You'll be able to set up your social media accounts. You'll be able to start kind of officially applying for your food trading licenses, and kind of really make it a kind of official that that's your name, and keep it very separate to your personal accounts, your personal GST number. Make it its own entity, because there's lots of things that are going to be coming and going through that account, and you need to have that official to look professional as well. What else have I got here? So in Auckland, I'll actually just quickly talk about kind of the stepping stones you need to take to, because this is similar around New Zealand, because I've spoken to other clients around the country, but they'll mostly need you to complete like a food control plan, which we touched on earlier, which is kind of just showing them that you know kind of your basic food hygiene. And that's an annual registration fee, which renews each year. With that, with the food control plan, a inspector will come out to see the premises in terms of where you operate, and they'll need to see where you prepare food and where you sell food, and just make sure it's clean and sanitary. So again, like I said, they're not there to make you feel rubbish or tell you you're not doing a good job or anything. They want to make you feel confident in running this business. They'll give you tips and advice and resources, and they'll let you fix whatever you need to fix, and then they'll come back and see you again. Okay, so don't be put off by it. Okay, so once you've made it all official, we can look at starting to launch. Like you can start launching your business. Like you can find events to trade. So go back to that research kind of brainstorming session that you did, and go back to all the events in your local area that are coming up. Most organizers actually book things way in advance, so it can't hurt to reach out sooner rather than later. Okay, and so the best way of securing an event is to pretty much tell the event organizer, without sounding too big-headed, how awesome you are. Explain kind of how your attendance to the event's going to improve their event further, because an event organizer wants events to be awesome, so people come and they have a great time and then they come back again. And one of the key components to that is to have great food, because everyone needs to eat. So those are really important. So your organizer needs to know that you're prepared, capable, professional, delicious, and going to be an amazing asset to their event. Okay, so one thing you can do, from my perspective of getting lots of inquiries, is that you need to almost create like a promotional copy where, hey Maggie, my name is Joe from Joe's Burgers, and I make incredible tasting burgers, and I think they're amazing, and I can send you a better template than this. Actually, I'm doing this on the spot, but you just need to kind of really kind of sell what you're selling to the event organizer. Okay, so that's professional images as well, and kind of great copy. Links to your social media accounts as well is really personal, because the event organizers quite time poor. So if you can put everything in an email for them to just quickly go and see and make that quick decision, versus having to go that back and forth kind of situation, because you might not get an answer. Okay, because at the end of the day as well, event organizers are just as important as your customers, because you have to build a really good relationship with them like when you can. Okay, because they allow you to trade at events, so you need to build those relationships. Just as importantly, you need to build those relationships with customers. Okay, One of the things as well, when you're ready to launch, is to ensure that you have a soft launch. Okay. So basically, find a spot that you can trade, most likely in your driveway, because that's fine because it's on private land. And invite your friends and family to come along and test it all out. Like, they're not going to really give you much of a hard time if they have to wait a little bit longer for food, because they love you and they're wanting to see you succeed. So um, test out how you make your food, your menu offerings. Try to have like the detailed menu there, so you can pretty much play shop and kind of trial it. You'll kind of find your workflow might need to change, or maybe I shouldn't have that menu item, or there might be some really key things and lessons that you learn with that soft launch that could really help you when you officially kind of get out and about. One example that from my food truck days with the smoothie truck is the first day we launched. We didn't do a soft launch. We dove straight in, my husband and I, at an event, and we had 5 smoothies on our menu. Okay. So after each order, Lee was having to like frantically kind of spot clean all these jugs for me to make the smoothies. And then all of a sudden he said, well, why don't we have each jug its own smoothie as such? Like, we'll obviously still clean it and rinse it, but we don't have to worry too much about that kind of cross contamination and flavor contamination if we're having to just have one jug per smoothie. And it made the whole process so much quicker. Like, he was able to take orders a lot quicker. I was able to make smoothies a lot quicker, and then you're making more sales. So there's going to be these little nuggets of like key learnings that you're going to learn at obviously a launch, but even as you go, you're obviously going to be constantly learning. Okay, good and bad. Okay, so again, going back onto events, one of the tips I actually have, which is one of the things that we're trying to do with the Food Truck Collective, is educating other organizers around the fact that food trucks don't make millions. Okay, so if someone's inviting you to come to their event and saying, yeah, it's like $1,000 to attend, which some events do, push back. Okay, we do a commission kind of arrangement with food trucks where we take a 10% commission of the gross sales the food truck makes. So that makes us as organizers incentivized to make sure the event's good for the food truck, because if the food truck does well, we do well, and everyone's happy. There's a lot of events that have high stall fees and will say, yeah, thousands of people are going to come, you're going to make loads of money, and you turn up and you make diddly squat. And that's happened to me a lot of times. Okay, so push back. What's the worst they can say? They can say no. And instinctively, if you know that event's going to be too much, going to go over your budget, it's too risky, don't do it. Go along and attend as a kind of person to come along and check out the event, and just make sure that you're confident in attending that event in the future or not. Okay, so save yourself some stress. Okay, next point is the last one, is lifestyle. Okay, so running your own business, especially a food truck business, it's going to change your life quite significantly. Okay, so your whole routine structure is going to change. If you've been used to like a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, it does take some while to adjust. Okay, so just be patient with yourself. Like, you're going to have a lot of prep work during the week, and the weekends obviously peak times on Friday, Saturday, Sundays, potentially, depending on what foods you're going to be offering. And so there's a lot more involved than meets the eye. Okay, so to start off with, there's still a lot of people that work full time and then they run their food trucks at the weekends, or have a part-time job, but just stagger yourself into it versus kind of going like 2 feet into the deep end would be my advice. So just kind of let a slow implement of change come into your life, and you'll kind of adjust there and then. I touched on in the beginning that spring and summer months were the busiest time of the year in Auckland, around October to April, May. So those are your peak times to make money. And so those are your times that you need to kind of set away some money in a separate account to be your buffer to get you through winter. Okay, because you're going to still need some money to live off. Okay, so it's definitely, we're trying to create more events in winter, but it's still, you can't compare it to the summer months when there's just lots and lots going on. So kind of thinking ahead is really important. Okay, and those winter times are the times to approach event companies for their upcoming season ahead. Like, we were planning this summer season in June, July last year. So just, it can't hurt to reach out. Okay. The first year is going to be lots of lessons. It's going to take time to recoup those costs. So, like I said, save that money, and operators are just going to have to potentially shut down over those winter months. Or a lot of people, a lot of the European food trucks that run will take winter off and travel, go back to Europe. The guys from Amaranto just went back to Italy for I think 6 to 8 weeks, which is one of the pros, obviously, of this lifestyle of running a food truck as well. So it's hard to predict what may or may not happen, but things don't always go to plan as they do in life. So if you never try, you will never know.